We have all been there. You wake up abruptly at 3 in the morning, the room is pitch black, and your eyes lock onto a menacing silhouette lurking in a pile of clothes in the corner. This animated diagram breaks down why that happens. It illustrates a scientific concept called pareidolia. Your brain is hardwired to seek out familiar patterns, instantly mapping human shapes and facial features onto raw visual static. Recognizing this psychological glitch acts as an automatic defense mechanism. A rational person can look at that terrifying shape in the dark, whisper, "sleep hallucination," roll over, and safely go right back to sleep. As long as the illusion remains confined to the absolute edge of our vision, our sense of safety and privacy remains intact. This brings us to the protagonist of a story called The Chair That Was Always Occupied. At the center of the narrative is a mundane object, an old, unused wooden chair relegated to the corner of the room, occasionally acting as a makeshift wardrobe. On the first night, the protagonist wakes up at 3 a.m. and spots a dark, still shape occupying the chair. They blink, and it vanishes. The protagonist executes that psychological coping mechanism perfectly. They tell themselves it's a simple trick of a tired mind, write it off as a hallucination, and return to sleep. This top-down spatial map shows exactly why that coping mechanism works. Night 1 establishes a clear physical boundary. The maximum distance maintained between the bed, acting as the safe zone, and the unknown threat of the corner chair allows the protagonist to feel secure. Then comes Night 2. The physical distance between the bed and the chair has not shrunk by a single inch, yet the threat level spikes. The tension comes from a shift in posture. It is no longer a passive shadow. It is a clear figure, resting its elbows on its knees, actively observing the protagonist. Shifting from a passive visual anomaly to an active, observing entity degrades the protagonist's psychological safety. The threat escalates without the entity ever crossing the physical space. The narrator has a visceral reaction. They freeze in place. They hold their breath. Even when they blink and the chair returns to normal, they refuse to sleep, opting to keep the lights on for the rest of the night. The entity has focused its intent directly across the room. It has turned the empty space between the bed and the corner into a charged, threatening environment. On the third night, the protagonist attempts a desperate experiment to reassert control. They move the chair entirely outside the room, close the bedroom door, and lock it tight. They lie awake in the dark. The tension builds as they wait for the 3 a.m. deadline to see if their physical barrier will hold. The physical laws of the house fail. At 3 a.m., the narrator turns their head to find the chair has returned to its exact spot in the corner. The entity is no longer ambiguous. It is a clearly defined person with a tilted head looking right at the narrator, unaffected by the locked door. This diagram of the locked bedroom maps the logic. The entity asks, "Why did you move me?" It's an intelligent presence. The locked door's failure proves the physical distance meant absolutely nothing. It was an artificial boundary controlled entirely by the presence. The entity lays out its methodical timeline. It tells the narrator, "First night, you saw me. Second night, you felt me. Tonight, you hear me." The narrator closes their eyes tightly in denial. Then they feel the bed physically sink right next to them. The threat has moved from the corner of the room directly to their side. Beside the paralyzed protagonist, the entity delivers a final promise. "Tomorrow, you won't need the chair." This single moment represents the total collapse of the room's proxemics. The entity has abandoned the periphery and successfully invaded the victim's intimate zone. The story leaves us with a grim epilogue. The narrator completely abandons their bedroom, fleeing in a desperate attempt to rebuild physical distance between themselves and the threat. They carry an inescapable curse. No matter where they sleep, they wake up at 3 a.m. They feel a heavy, breathing presence sitting down right beside them. That old wooden chair was a temporary anchor point, a tool used to slowly condition the victim to the presence. A haunted room can be left behind, but once the safe distance has collapsed to zero, there is nowhere left to hide. The entity is simply getting used to being closer, forever.